It's now time for Punted, a podcast discussing the very latest in all things racing, including tips, giveaways and laughs. Here's your hosts, Scott McKinnon and Nathan Kendrick.
Hey guys, welcome back for another week of the Punted podcast. We're lucky enough, Nate, to be joined by one of Queensland's race callers, in Josh Fleming, to have a chat with us for a bit.
Very exciting. He actually does the intro to our show, which is even better too. So
he did us a solid there. I think we bought a card for that.
He's really done us a solid because we tried to do it yesterday and we had a few technical difficulties. But we're here today. I bet you don't have that many problems at Sky Racing, do you, Josh?
Oh, Nathan, we do here and there. Yeah. Hello, boys. Anything that's live radio, live TV, recording podcasts or live podcasts or whatever, anything can happen. So, all good. As a matter of fact, it probably works out better for me because we had probably 6 kids running around tearing the joint apart yesterday. But there's only 2 little ones here at the moment. One's having a sleep, so things are much quieter and actually worked out pretty well in that regard. Not as many distractions. So, wonderful to be on Punted, and looking forward to having a chat.
Yeah, good on you, Fleming. I guess we'll start with where it all started and how it all started for you. You were at a pretty young age. I think it was 12 when you first thought you were all right at it.
Well, I was 14 the first meeting I did, but I was actually due to call one when I was 12. Amazingly, when you look back, like I'm 40 next year, and you sort of don't feel like I've done the job for that long. But, I was living in Western Queensland as a kid. We moved out there in 95, and I'd already, even at sort of the age of 8, 9, 10, was doing phantom calls of rugby league and was out the backyard kicking the football and commentating the game, and I was the referee and the players, and drove mum and my grandparents and the whole neighbourhood cuckoo doing it. But I can't even explain why. I just did it, and my grandparents, we were living with them in Brisbane, and particularly my grandfather, he had the races on every day. And he was no more than $1 or $2 punter, but he'd sit there with 4 tab on. That was before Sky, or actually it might have been Sky Channel itself did, I think, may have started by then, but they didn't have it in the household at that point. Of course, that was before the Sky Channel pay TV service came in, so all the coverage that we had was purely just on radio. So pretty much the races were on every day. So it was a combination of that, and then I went to the races for the first time at Eagle Farm when I was about 10. And, just sort of, it was a bit of a G up at home, I suppose, did phantom calls out of the paper. And they've got the results, the Sunday papers got the Saturday results with the position in running at the 800, 400 and the finish. I just constructed that into a phantom call, and I was doing that up at the school where my mum worked one weekend, and by fluke, the local Chad Stewart heard me do the phantom call, and he said, "Oh, you go pretty good. Come out and do it for real." And he took me under his wing and went out to a lot of the western tracks around Longreach, Barcaldine, and Blackall. So we were living in Barcaldine. It was only an hour drive to tracks like Longreach and Blackall. So went around the different tracks with him, and the local caller fell ill at the end of 98, and they said, "Oh, I know this young bloke," or John said, they were looking for a caller, but John put my name forward and said, "I know this young bloke that's going pretty good practicing, and we'll give him a go." And that's where it kicked off. 5th of December 98. I was only turned 14 about 2 weeks before.
How often do they race out there, Josh? Were they racing often?
Yeah, in the West, they're on every week from sort of March to December. So when it gets too hot over summer, they don't race. So it was the last meeting of the year. Yeah, it was early December 98, and the local caller was he took ill, he had to have an operation, so he couldn't call. And there's not many sort of callers out there at that point that were waiting in the wings. So it was just me, and went and did that meeting, and it sort of confirmed that was what I wanted to do. I was only sort of 11 or 12 where I thought that I would like to do it, and it's very, very rare for someone that young to want to do a job like that.
Like, you're doing that from 8, and now you've been doing it from 41 now. Like, that's a long time. You finished a dream job when you were that young.
Yeah. Oh, and I count myself one of the luckiest people to ever grace the earth, because you're right. There's so many that want to do something. I mean, there'd be
what they want to do.
Yeah.
What they're going to be.
Or they just don't get the opportunity. And so, yeah, and there was actually a meeting at Windora out in the Channel Country, southwestern Queensland, that I was teed up to do it when I was only 12.
True.
And I was just packing it leading into it. I knew deep down that I wanted to do it, but I was just petrified. It didn't work out. I think John Jerry and I, like 12's probably a bit young for a race caller, so he just delayed my debut, if I could put it that way. Yeah. So I think that was a blessing, but I didn't want to do it too young and, get scared and, make some bad blues and just not want to come back and do it at all. Yeah, so it worked out well probably to wait another couple of years, and obviously thought I was young enough.
Yeah, that's right. Would you have been one of the youngest callers in racing?
Yeah.
14-year-olds that call a race?
No. I looked at them. I'm not too sure. There's a few that had started very young. Whether I was younger at 14 at the time, I really don't know. Probably not, to be quite truthful. There might be another kid out there that had to go earlier than that. But, like living in the outback, or kids wanted to be truck drivers and roo shooters and pig hunters and electricians and whatnot.
Yeah.
And when the guidance officer would come around and say, "Oh, what do you want to do, Josh?" I'd say, "Oh, race car, please." There's not too many at that age that say they want to do it. So, but I'm indebted to John Wallace, and then in recent times, Alan Thomas obviously took me under his wing and became a great mentor. And it was, it meant a lot to be the one that took over from him upon his retirement at the end of 2015. And then, we've been called Queensland home again for 7.5 years now. So, and that was after a 12.5 year period in New South Wales. So, had a very lucky to get that opportunity down there, but then lucky again to be able to come back home with it and come back to where it all started.
Absolutely. Was it more for you, Josh? Was it more so the racing or the actual calling that you enjoyed? Like, what sort of drew you in rather to making you want to call? Was it the horses or the calling itself?
It was a bit of both. It was probably more the calling, because John did take me and show me some of the other sides of racing on the steward side of things. And I remember having a go as a judge, and also with the I had to go videoing a race one day. So I did try a few other things, but I just didn't. I don't think in my heart I had the passion for those jobs that I did for the calling. So I suppose at that point I was going to be pretty happy to get into the game in some sort of fashion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't feel that I had the passion for the other jobs that I did for the calling. So I was able to kick off there at the end of '98, and then more opportunities came along. Next year I called a picnic race meeting up at Carinya, which is north of Barcaldine, in '99, and then I kicked off in Birdsville in September that year, and we're lining up for our 20th Birdsville Cup later in the year. So that's the club I've had the longest association with, and always love getting back out there, and it's where we forged a lot of great friendships and whatnot over the years. So we're lining up to head out there again later in the year.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing about your job, Joshy. You can go kind of anywhere really with it, and be successful at it. As you say, you've been in Canberra. You've been Birdsville 20 times. I've never been. I want to go one day. I'm nearly going to send a horse out there, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
long way.
I think it'd be your type of meeting, Scotty. I think you'd be able to play up a bit out there. But
mate, I'm Joshy. Why are you trying to broadcast?
Throw him under the bus.
Come on, man.
Yeah. No, you'd have you both have a ball out there. But yeah, no, you should get either the Kendrick Stable or the McKinnon Yard to tee one up to head out there, but they'd need to handle the Victorian way of going,
that'd have to be
the very tough to handle the trip, and we've had some wild weather out there in recent years. It was freezing cold in September. It was boiling hot in April last year. We had a very rare 2 meetings last year to make up for obviously what we lost in COVID. But you're right. It's taken me, obviously, with the time I had in New South Wales, but I was also able to call a little bit in Victoria. I was only down there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, but I suppose you could say, work experience with Greg Miles, and to be alongside one of the greats of the game, one of the broadcasting greats, and a man that I idolised from day one, to be with him at Moonee Valley and call a couple down there and go to Sandown and out to Mornington. That was special to do that, and I've got an opportunity to call the race at Golden Gate Fields in California as well when we've had a holiday over there. And good mate of mine is a good friend of the race caller over there. So it was it was teed up. And the funny thing was I had the binoculars and whatnot with me because I was flying back from America and going straight to Birdsville. So I had all the gear packed, not that I intended to call one, but I suppose in the back of my mind, I was sort of quietly, hoping that I hope he asked to call. You'd never ask one, but I was hoping that he would say, "Oh, do you want to call one, Josh?" Because obviously I jump at that opportunity. It's something that doesn't come around every day. So, I've never called, full time internationally, but to even just do that one race, it was a special experience. Yeah.
Would that ever be an option? Sorry, Nathan, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had a question. Would it ever be an option for you, Joshy, to go overseas if something like Singapore or something offered up? Or Hong Kong?
Probably not. I feel like I'm pretty entrenched in Queensland at the moment. I suppose you never to say never, and you don't know what the future holds. But my main focus in life is our two children. We've got a 4-year-old and 1-year-old now, so we're lucky to live where we are with them. So there's no desire to live elsewhere. You never rule anything out, I suppose, in life.
Yeah, we're back from a little technical difficulty with Josh Fleming here. We run a tight studio here, so we'll cut that part out. Joshy, you're obviously out of Gatton now. You enjoying it out there on the farm?
Yeah, I am, boys. Love it out here. Don't really do too much farm work as such, but it's good. Living with some of my wife's family and the kids love it out here. There's a few cows out the back, so they're loving it. It's always good to see the kids have fun. So it's a bit quieter out here compared to the coast. It means you've got a few more miles to drive, but look, we're used to the travel of cut my teeth driving 4 hours for the races in the bush. So. No issue with the travel. So, but no, we're enjoying living out here. Yeah,
the kids would like it too. Bit of a backyard.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and there's a pool there as well. It's a bit chilly at the moment, but over spring and summer they get in there and they can ride their bikes out on the road as well, and they get scooters and trikes and whatnot out there. So, my two kids have got their cousins and that around. So, they're hanging out together and they're having fun.
Yeah, and your two are probably a bit too young at the moment, Josh, but have they shown any interest in wanting to be race callers like you?
No, not yet, thankfully. They do tend to like the sound of their own voice a bit, but when we were at Toowoomba the other day, they both picked up the Sky Thoroughbred Central microphone and tried to sing a song in there, and they love going to the races and watching the horses as well. So it might not be down a calling front, but they've got to meet a lot of people at the track, and they might very well follow down that racing path. Maybe not in the broadcast box, but maybe through some other role in the industry. And
obviously, from when you first started calling to now, we had Jared Wessel on a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, we couldn't upload that video because of some technical difficulties as well. But do you have any sort of routine that you go through, obviously, before a race and before you start calling? And has that changed over time, or have you sort of stuck to the same routine?
I probably has changed a little bit over time, just the way that you prepare and just even what you've got while you're calling the race. Because I remember when I first kicked off, I was never really a race book caller as such. I'd sort of call with the book in my back pocket. Yeah. So if you forgot one in the run, you were in trouble. And I remember a race in Birdsville one day. I was only about 16, I think I might have been, and something chimed in out wide, and I just had a total blank. I had no idea what it was, and I sort of covered myself not too bad. Like it wasn't ideal, but it wasn't a complete disaster. But from that point on, I've never forgotten it, even though it was over 20 years ago. But I've always called with a race book or a sheet in my hand that's got colours on there, and it's always good to have it there. I mean, not so much if you forget one, I suppose, but if you have two that are stable mates and you might have a white cap and a blue cap, I can just circle the name and write next to it white or blue, and it just takes that mental sort of pressure off yourself, I suppose, in case you do. If you're worried you might forget it, well, you can get to it in the run and just take a quick look down and know which one that you're calling. And I suppose that the bit of greyhound racing that I called in New South Wales, that was all sheep calling. So you sort of got used to looking down quickly and looking back up at the race and not missing anything. So you do have to be sharp doing that, and it's not something you want to do all the time. Not want to take your eyes off the action too much, of course. But I suppose I just learned how to do that quickly when I was calling the odd greyhound meeting, and it's just about your sharpness, I suppose, if you need to look down, or even if you've got a weird name that you might just spell out on the sheet in front of you or something like that. So just little different things, I suppose, I've changed as I've got a bit older, and just you gain a bit of experience, and you just sort of change a few things that might make the job that little bit easier and a little bit less stress to do. So obviously, a classic case was the Mashani race where we had 9 of them. So there was a lot of there was a lot of different caps and clubs colours that you used there. So it was definitely a case in point where you're sort of looking down a bit, but you're having to do it very quickly and look down and up, and it was a pretty hectic sort of 58 seconds or so.
Yeah, got it spot on too.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just about to say that about, a race goes in under a minute, some races, all 1,000 metres. When them gates crash back, there's a lot of pressure, I guess you could say. It's a pressure cooking job. Joshy, do you ever let it get you flustered? You're a pretty cool cat most of the time.
Probably in my mind I have been, but I've just tried to not let it show, I suppose. Yeah. I think like any sort of performance-related job, you can go through period. Yeah, you can go through periods where you might just think you're out of form. If you're sort of liking it to being an opening batsman, there might be some days where you just you're nicking everything and you can't get it off the square, but other days everything comes out of the middle, I suppose. So I don't think that we're any different in that regard. You can't sort of have it perfect every time. I suppose more often than not we'll tend to get it right, but there could be a day where you just feel that bit flat for whatever reason. So, and I've probably sort of found myself, in a couple of patches where you're just a little bit out of form. You might get a little bit nervous because you feel like you're sort of battling for form a little bit. But we also know at the end of the day that we can get the job done. So you keep turning up and keep going, and you'll find that form again, like cricketers do, and football players and jockeys and trainers as well can go through. Form patches. It's
tell me about it.
It's not really. Yeah, it's not really any different in that regard. You know that what you've done works and it has worked before, so you just keep going at it, and the wheel will turn,
Joshy. The wheel will turn,
and it does. Yeah. Every stable, every rider will go through that good and bad patch. So you know that you go through that good patch, whatever you're doing works. Yeah. So you keep at it, and as you say, that wheel will turn.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And what's been your favourite horse to call, Josh?
In Queensland, I was fortunate to call Buffering when he won at the Gold Coast on Magic Millions Day. It was special for me. It was the first Millions meeting that I called. It was the first $1 million race I called, and he was able to win. That was the cutest race on Millions Day back in 2016. So obviously he's been a wonderful galloper, and he was for quite some time before his retirement. He was one of the best to come out of Queensland. So it was a big thrill, for a Queenslander to come back home and call a horse like him. And, I suppose in recent times, Roth Fire, it was a big thrill to see him win back in Queensland over the weekend. And you go back to his win in the Atkins. Yeah. Thanks, Scotty. Yeah. It's a great thrill to call those horses. So, we don't get them up here, every week by any stretch, of course, but we get our carnival times where we get the good horses coming up, and I look forward to the likes of Giga Kick and Co coming up soon. So, it's sort of it's a bit of a rare opportunity to call those real good horses. So we're excited about that going forward into the carnival.
Have you got anything up your sleeve for when those good horses do come up? Any little lines that you're going to spit out if they win?
Not really. It's it's hard to go in. Yeah, it's probably not a great idea to go in with a preconceived plan. Funnily enough, I did with Buffering when he won. I thought I'll have to have something up my sleeve. And I remember the funny thing with Rock 5 was there's a bloke that mate of mine who's got a share in him, and he said to me, "I'll call him the Thriller from Chinchilla when he wins," and that was actually leading into the 2-year-old duel at the Gold Coast.
Yeah,
and he got rolled by Kisakano.
Yeah.
So I had the line there, and I'm waiting, for him to kick away and use it, and obviously glad I didn't because he got run down. But when he won the Atkins, he spaced him there, and when he was about 4 in front with 100 to go, I thought, this is the right time to
roll it out,
to chuck the line in, and you've only got one go at it, so I sort of feel like for something like that, I need to have it prepared, or else I'll stuff it up. But and I remember I was lucky to call Robert Thompson's 4,000th winner as a jockey at Newcastle. That was about 9 years ago. It was around about this time of year, back in 2014, and remember having something prepared there. That was in case he won, because he was on a roughie when he was on 3,999, and it caught me off the hop a bit because he sort of just going up and down a bit, this horse, and it sort of picked up late and drove up on the rail and won, and then I had to think, what am I going to say? And I had the line sort of just written on a sheet of paper on the bench in front of me, and looked down and spat that out. So, but it's sort of something that you very rarely have to worry about. Obviously, normal sort of run-of-the-mill race, you don't have to worry about it too much. But, I never called Winks or Black Caviar in any of their big wins. I called Winks at the first start, funnily enough. But I never had to have a line prepared for them, whereas obviously Greg and Darren and Matty Hill and those sort of blokes did. So they ordinarily wouldn't be a hard race to call with not a massive field, but I mean the obvious expectation was that they were both going to win. So what are we going to say now when they've won 25, 30 straight? We've got to come up with something. So we've never had to worry about that too much. And as I say, that little preconceived idea about Rothfire that day, I was thinking, when's the time to say it? Well, I can't when Kisakano lined up outside him and looked like she was going to get past him. So I thought I'll just shelve that for another day. And luckily we got to use it when he won the Atkins over the Carnival. So but it's good to have something there if you need it, but it's not something you have to worry about too often.
Yeah, you're pretty much off the dome, aren't you, Josh? You just let it flow, basically, your voice. You don't really think too much.
Pretty much. You try not to. Like it's, even on a speed map front, you might think that something might lead, and then I just sort of let the race unfold and just sort of take your time with it mentally and watch it unfold and try and describe what's happening as accurately as you can, because you can, think it might be run one way and if something, doesn't jump and it drifts back, as opposed to being near the lead, but it's something you can chuck in with the call because your knowledge might be, well, this is supposed to be in front, but here it is out the back. So something like that maybe that can catch you off the hop where it might not be run the way that you think it's going to. But you you do get to know what horses go forward and go back anyway, and punters do as well that are watching it, all the time. They know who leads and gets back. So and sort of just tend to learn the colours as they go out, and then just wait for the race to unfold, and as I say, try and call it as accurately as we can.
I was about to just ask you. You talked about punting. We are a punted podcast. How is the punt?
Not too bad. It's
It's not.
Yeah, I'm part of the Sunshine Coast Hotel Punters Club. Has a lot up.
Woeful in that.
So
are you going good?
I've started. Well, I'm running 7th out of 45, which for me is not too bad. I'm actually pretty happy with my effort there. I backed Antino, which admittedly wasn't hard to find, but I was on Pentito when it won at about $8 or $9. So I was found him. I thought he was back in grade in a weaker race, and he ran well again in his next run. So Jason Edwards has got him going well, Pentito. There's been a little bit of joy recently, but over the course of my life, it's not a great story. But there's been some success on the Punters Club front in recent weeks, which has been good.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're not calling this weekend at the Sunshine Coast with the Hollandale meeting being obviously a Gold Coast meeting, but transferred to the Sunshine Coast. But obviously the Winter Carnival's ramping up now. Is there any horses or races in particular that you're looking forward to calling?
Looking forward to all the big races coming up, Nath. We've got the 10,000 next week, so obviously Giga Kick's a short price favourite there. But I'm looking like a strong lineup there. But look, Kovalika is an exciting prospect, so looking forward to him going towards the Derby. He was terrific winning over the weekend.
Guineas, yeah.
At the mile, he won the Queensland Guineas there, and he came back with that terrific run first up in Sydney. So he looks like he's come back really well, and he had wonderful form in Queensland over the summer. So he's got a good record up here, and he's flying. And look, he's short in the Derby, but he looks mighty hard to beat there. Yeah. So looking forward to him to get there, and Giga Kick, one of our best sprinters in the country, stepping out in the 10,000, and then we'll roll into the Doomben Cup, and obviously Zaki is going to be hard to beat there, and we'll get a gauge on where he's at when he steps out in the Hollandale. But look, his run was terrific behind Giga Kick in the all-age first up, and he's an 8-year-old now, but he's obviously still a high-quality galloper, and Queensland was where he first burst onto the scene when he won the Hollandale a couple of years ago. He's looking for his third win in the race, so... And, look, it's really exciting for the Sunshine Coast public to get out and see the quality of horses that will be stepping out. It's very rare that we get the Zakis of the world that go around at Corbell Park.
Right.
So,
J-Max of the world.
I think it's exactly right. Yeah, you look at the jockeys. You've got J Mac, Ashrawilla coming up, who rode the Caloundra Cup winner, as we know. But your Chad Schofields and Timmy Clarks, taking on the best of our riders up here as well. Your Ryan Maloney's, Jimmy Burns and Jimmy Orman, or Benny Thompson. So. It's high quality horse flesh and high quality riders and trainers as well. So it'd be up there with one of the better meetings that we've had at Sunny Coast.
It's got to be the best, I reckon, Joshy. I can't think of a better one, really.
No, we did have a couple of Group 2s over the carnival held there when we had No Eagle Farm a few years ago.
Right.
But it's a great card. Look, the money's there, and we know how good the track is, and the weather forecast is pretty good as well. So
we've been having beautiful days.
Looking forward to enjoying the coverage and tuning in. Yeah.
On that note, Joshy, have you got any tips for us?
I haven't looked too closely at it, to be quite truthful. I do. I'm having a little look at the best bets form in front of me. I mean, Zaki's obviously going to be hard to beat. There's no two ways about that, and deserves his spot as favourite. But I looked at the Gold Coast bracelet form, and Street Gossip was so impressive when she won the Princess of Doomben, and she was only out of a Class 1, but she did a bit of work on the run at Doomben as well, and she pretty much just ran them ragged late, and she's up to the 1800, but I don't see that being a problem. Tom Sherry's obviously her regular ride and rides her very well, so from gate number 3 she should get a good run from there, and I think she's fine going to the 18. She was strong when she won there the other day after having a bit of a tough run in patches in the race. So she's going to be mighty hard to beat there. But look, Tony Gollan's filly's very promising, Compass Rose. I know she's up and grade a bit, but she just annihilated them there at Doomben the other day when she won. That was about a month ago. So she's a month between runs, but she's back to 1800. But from the good gate, she should be in a good spot as well, and looks hard to beat there too. But the numbers are terrific. The quality's there, and it's going to be a heck of a day's racing. It's as I say, it's very rare that we can get this quality here at Sunny Coast. So it's going to be a great opportunity for the local punters to get out there and check it out. And that Gold Coast Guineas is a mouth-watering race with Fashion Legend Yellow Brick resuming. So can't wait for that one either.
Great racing. Well, thanks, Joshy, for joining us. You're a bloody legend after we bloody fucked you around yesterday for ages. So I appreciate you coming back on this afternoon.
Thanks, mate.
No trouble at all, boys.
And good luck over the carnival, Joshy. You'll do well, brother. You're the best.
Yeah, good on you. No, appreciate it, boys. Thanks for the opportunity for coming on, and we'll catch us around the track.
Thanks,
Talk
mate.
to you, brother.
See ya.
Bye.